How to deal with an hyperactive mind. More than 10,000 years ago, humanity living on this planet, they were like hunter-gatherers, living from day to day, traveling, living like nomads, and just getting enough for their needs. Their mind had to be hyperactive. Hyperactive in a sense like, when being on the hunt, you need to be super aware of what's going on in your environment, in your surroundings. You hear sounds of the leaf. Perhaps there might be a predator, or there might be a prey. Your senses had to be hyperactive in order to survive. Until we moved into the agriculture period. This is where humanity started to settle down, create communities. They learned how to farm. And because they learned how to farm, the hunter-gatherers started to disappear slowly, bit by bit. Because they learned the way to grow their own food, so you didn't need to live like a nomad anymore. And of course we can think about the many benefits that this agriculture had, that we will be able to stay at one place. Because as farmers, you need to overlook the crops, and you just need to sit still and be there and wait patiently for what's going on. So, you didn't really need to be hyperactive or hyper aware of what's going on in your environments, because you had to wait patiently to see what's going on with the crops. Now, as humanity started to evolve in growing in communities, the flip side of that is that also diseases and viruses started to evolve and spread among the farmer society. And those not living in communities, the hunters, they were simply not immune for that. That's why the hunters slowly started to disappear, because they could not survive the viruses, the diseases. And the farmers, they were able to do so. So the hunters that continue to exist in places like Africa, Asia, South America, North America, of course they got colonized and invaded by the people from farmers' societies. The Spanish, the Portuguese, the French, the English, the Dutch. And all the Europeans, they brought their farmer-like diseases with them. And it didn't cost any battle to just make the last hunters disappear. The whole agriculture age, of course it started to evolve in the technology age to what we know as today, but at the end, if you look around, we still live in communities that are like farmer-based societies. Because most people, they need to overlook and nurture internal procedures. They stay around in community-like environments, although there's nothing really community about living in large cities. And all these people living very close to each other, of course, we don't have to go into that to really to see that also brings many diseases with them. But it's only a few that are trying to live, survive and adapt as hunters in a farmer society. And as hunters, of course, we can think about, those who actually go out on hunting with rifles in order to shoot animals. Of course, that can be, give a thrill and makes you live on the edge. But as hunters, we can also think about the creators, the entrepreneurs, the artists, who constantly seeking out for new kind of experiences. Because as an hyperactive mind, of course we can identify that as labeled it as ADD, being hyperactive in the mind, and having challenges around concentration, focus, but it's actually having hunter genes trying to live in a farmer-like society, because with hunter genes we are hyperactive to that what's going on in our environment. And when you walk around in a farmer-like society in the major cities, where everybody just stays at one place, sit indoors, trying to nurture and overcomplicate procedures, working in big companies, overlooking and analyzing numbers. Hunters don't really feel like they're at the place. They don't feel like they really belong in that kind of environment. Because hunters, they go to a place, explore the place, get to know the place, and basically their job is done. They have to move on to the next one and to the next thing. Because that's really simply what makes them alive. Being on the move, exploring new opportunities, seeking for constantly new experiences, instead of trying to do the same thing over and over and over again. That's simply not for the hunter. Hunters, they create, they explore, they use their hyperactivity to their advantage, to see, to feel, to become aware. Hunters need to be on the move, they can't sit still. Of course you can say to them, oh, they are the ADHD, the people who can't sit still. And perhaps it is like that. Because those with the hunter genes, they have something very ancient in them, something we have forgotten, humanity has forgotten, as they got, of course, lost in our society that I think we can all agree to has come to a point that we've come to realize it's actually not really working for us. It's not really working for our true nature. And those with the hunter genes, they are aware of that. They are aware that we lost touch with something very ancient, very rooted, something very primal. The hunters are therefore the explorers that will lead us into the new world. A new world where, again, we can remember what it's like to be connected with nature, with our own nature, to reconnect with our own primal desires, is to use our sensitivities, is to reawake our sensitivities in order to get in touch with our environment. Because we are so disconnected with that, because many of us, we just stick to one place, to that what is familiar. And to stick in a bubble of what is most familiar. This comfort zone, as comfortably as it may look like, it's a very dangerous place to be in for the hunters. Because for the hunters, they get sick. They get sick being in this same kind of environment, as they need to be on the go. For many years I've never really realized this. At school I always had issues, I always had trouble. Going from the second into third grade in primary, I had issues going from playing outside, sitting still in a classroom, learning about languages, mathematics, and all these kind of different classes. I had issues being able to concentrate, to stay focused, because it simply did not have my interest. And if something didn't have my interest, I would simply zone out. I would dream away. I would think about, I want to do something else. I want to be somewhere else. And this daydreaming actually got me quite into issues. Because yes, I have my imaginations and my creativity, and that's the gift that I have, that I want to further explore and express and share. But at the same time I had to try to adapt to the farmer-like society, trying to stick to one place. And trying to stick to one place, it caused major amount of boredom. This boredom just either burn me out or make me feel anxious, depressed, stressed, because I was like a fish on the dry. That's how it felt like. And I definitely thought something was wrong with me. School wasn't torture for me. I was never able to pay attention because it simply did not interest me. Yes, after school I wanted to join the military, the Dutch Marine Corps, but instead I went to college. After coming out of college, I had issues, troubles, sitting still, staying indoors, being told what to do, not being able to explore, to be creative. Going from job to job to job to career, I just destroyed my resume, as I never was really able to show, like a box-like profile. The box-like profile simply did not exist, and therefore I had issues with employment, finding employment, keeping employment. And yes, I was the creative individual that would venture out in the world with new ideas as an entrepreneur. But I also realized, like, hey, also that perhaps could not longer satisfy me, as I, had too many other creative ideas. So I would start a project and I would move on to the next project. This hyperactivity in my mind caused a lot of issues regarding to stress, anxieties, or feeling bored out and burned out. Starting a whole lot of projects but never really able to finish it. I was simply on the hunt for constantly new experiences. I had to change my environment constantly. Yes, going out in the outdoors, the nature. Looking for new kind of places that would trigger my senses. It would make me feel aware, be present. It would slow down my hyperactive mind. It will help me to ground me, as that is really what I'm looking for, is what I'm hunting for. Trying to be present in the moment, slow down my hyperactive mind and become present. So yes, these mindfulness-like activities can help me do so, to slow down my hyperactive mind, as perhaps right now this is what I'm hunting for. Because looking for new environments to explore, that will make me come alive, do physical activities, physical work that reconnects me with my primal instincts, getting more in touch with my body. So yeah, maybe it is indeed the self-care that I'm hunting for. So another question, of course, what is your hunt? What are you looking for? What are you chasing down? And this hunt you're after, how can you bring that into the present moment in order to perhaps ease your hyperactivity, your hyperactive mind, to get more in touch with your physical body, your primal needs? I'm very curious. Let's start this conversation. So let me know your thoughts by simply dropping a comment below.